Hello, it's me. If you're new here, what's up? How you doing? If you're familiar with my channel, thanks for coming by and watching some of my long form stuff. Um, I decided recently to start making more long form stuff, so and, it's gonna get better over time. So don't worry. This might be garbage, but later it'll be good. I promise. So anyways, today I wanted to talk about the idea of religion. Now, I know it's a hard pressed topic. A lot of people are just hyper fixated on religion right now. And I get it. I understand. But there's a few things that I want to just kind of get out of my off my chest, you know? So I've practiced many different religions. I've researched many different religions, and for me personally, I'm not religious. I am more based in science and evolution standards and Darwinism, if you will. But I notice a lot of people get offended when I say that. And I don't mean to offend anyone when I say that I don't believe in religion. I, I don't understand why people get offended. I mean, I guess I do because it's their worldview and they want everyone to encapsulate their worldview. But as someone, like I said, I've learned Buddhism. I've practiced Buddhism. I've learned about Judaism. I've practiced a little bit of Christianity. I've read the Bible. I've read like 4 or 5 different versions of the Bible. I've read like religious scripture from just many, like Islam, the Quran, stuff like that. And I find, and even Greek mythology. I I think personally, in my like worldview, religion to me is an explanation for the sciences, an explanation for things that were unknown. And that's okay. That's fine. That's perfectly okay. I'm not trying to say that your religion is bad or anything like that. I'm just saying how I understand it. So, in my worldview, ancient Greece, right? Greek mythology, they had no idea why the wind blew or why the waves crashed or why the sun shined on certain days, you know? And so they created explanations that made sense to them because for the simple minded people who weren't doing a lot of research and stuff like that, having something unknown is scary. The scariest thing is the unknown. Um, like most of H.P. Lovecraft's stories are all about the unknown and the otherworldly and stuff like that. And I find that to be very interesting because when you think of the unknown, you can't fathom it. So it scares us because we don't know the answer. And so as humans, naturally we create value in the things that make sense. We create value for everything. And that's what's great about being human is you can find value in literally anything. People find value in religion. That's okay. I find value in the science and facts and the idea that there's an explanation for everything. And so for me, when I say we came from monkeys, 75 million years ago, the Americas and the Australias broke apart, and marsupials were in Australia, and the New World monkeys happened here, and then they branched off. That's my explanation, right? That's my explanation. But your explanation might be that God created the world, and that's okay. It's okay to create meaning for things that we don't understand. But I I think that personally a lot of people find religion to be this sort of like set in stone thing that no matter what it's always going to apply. And I understand that. But when you take bits and pieces of that thing and then say like, "Oh, well that's different," or like, you know, that's not true. Just making value out of these things that you kind of just pick apart. It doesn't make sense to me. If you're a religious person, you should follow all the religion, right? At least that's the logical explanation. But I find a lot of people to pick and choose. Like in the Bible, there's a story of two daughters who sexually assault their dad after getting him drunk. And that's disgusting. That's gross. But there's a moral behind it, right? There's a story being told. There's a reason why it's being told. There's an explanation behind it. And I don't think people quite understand that. I don't think people understand that Noah's Ark wasn't just the world being flooded because God was mad. It was a story of preservation and accumulation and building from what you have and 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 just against all odds making a change, you know? Doing something that you think is positive in a world full of negatives. And that's amazing. That's David and Goliath. It's the story of overcoming fear. He was stuck in that cave for 7 years, thinking that he was never going to be he was never going to be able to get out of there. Until one day, he pulled that slingshot back, and boom! He hit Goliath in the eye. That's beautiful. That's amazing to have stories of these people who are overcoming adversity, and now to sit there and say that these people who overcame adversity and stuff like that, like, they don't matter now. That doesn't apply. Like, I feel like lately there's been a lot of like sort of overlap with the Christian mob and the alt-right, which is just not good. Because people find religion and they go, okay, this is neat, but I don't like this. And then they change it, or they go to a different church and it's completely different. And that's what confuses me. The fact that there's so many different workarounds for different things doesn't quite fit with my brain. That's why I personally choose science, because science always has an explanation. And yes, we're always learning new things about science. Of course we are. We're always learning new things about the world around us. But I've never really understood why people will pick and choose. You know? And it's very weird to me that in this current day and age, people who claim to be Christians are complete opposites of what Jesus would have wanted. Jesus was he was a dirty homeless man, walking around in rags, and healing the sick and the hungry and the harmed. He hung out with prostitutes and degenerates, and yet he loved them. He loved everyone. He loved everyone equally. But there's so much hate in this world that it just doesn't make any sense. There's a quote that I hate, but I also think fits perfectly. There's no love like Christian hate. That's just true. I've gone to church. I have tattoos, right? I have tattoos. This is an anti-possession symbol. Literally to block demons from entering my body, right? It's from Supernatural. It has meanings in other scriptures and stuff like that, but it's popularized by Supernatural. My little sister loved that show so much that when she committed suicide, my entire family got this in memory of her. And when I went to join my sister's church, I was shunned. I was treated as an outcast because I had tattoos. I had a girlfriend who wanted to be a Mormon, but the Mormons, they think of black people as demons, and yet she was black. And so it's like, I don't understand when religion kind of hits you at face value. Like, is it that you read the book and it's true, or is it there's bits and pieces that you believe are true and other pieces just don't apply? Just, if you're gonna believe something, believe it with your full chest. Trust me. It's so much easier to just be a bigot and to be just not even paying attention. Ignorance is bliss. But yet, knowing things is more valuable because then you can teach others. So why is it that it's a bad thing to learn about other things? Why I don't know. I don't know. It's a bit of a rant, but just yeah. I I don't know. If this makes sense to you, just let me know in the comments. If this doesn't make sense, you can completely disregard me. But yeah, I'm just a little confused, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that's about it. See ya.